Today will be part 4 in the series Scriptures Often Forgotten, and today we're going to be taking a look, continuing on what we talked about in our Enduring Righteously video about that feeling of Yahuwah potentially forgetting about you, Yahuwah not hearing you, Yahuwah not answering your prayers if it feels that way or if it feels like you're in that situation, and some tips on how to combat that. Not only that, but also looking at people in Scripture who've also felt the same way you might be feeling right now. And in case you're new to this network, we use the restored names of the Father Yahuwah and the Son YAHUSHA read from right to left. We also use Ruach HaKadosh to refer to the made apart spirit and Alua as the restored title. Now, just some quick housekeeping notes. I know we have not done this in a long time. I know it's been a while since the last video. If you can recall, the last video in this series was actually on the subject of worm, and we're going to see that again later on in this video. However, it's important for me to re-emphasize that in this series, folks, you all are to be doing your own studies with Yahuwah through YAHUSHA. So again, the purpose of this series is not for you to just rely on me to be uploading these lessons and these videos and for you to just be like, oh, Truth Unveiled 777 is going to upload another video this week. Now I'm going to tune in and now I'm going to get into my word. That's not what you're supposed to be doing. And that is why Yahuwah is having me upload these rather sporadically, because for that purpose. And also, too, because if I'm not led to upload, I'm just not going to upload. However, today I am led to do this for you, and I'm led to share this with you. And also, what you also have to understand about this series in particular and how it differs from the Scriptures Often Ignored series is that this one is not just going to be my reading you scriptures and giving you words of encouragement. It's also going to be focusing on the language. Now, I know a lot of you have questions about that, if I'm going to start a language series, if I'm going to touch up more on the Yahudyth or the Paleo Hebrew language to its entirety and do more in-depth videos. Yahuwah willing, I would love to definitely do that and potentially start a series or a little mini lesson on that. However, what the focus of this video is going to be today is going to look a little bit more at the Yahudyth as well. Now that we got that out of our system, today we're going to be looking at the book commonly known as Habakkuk, and we're going to be taking a look at the entire book, the book to its entirety, because again, the question you need to be thinking about, folks, is when you're feeling these ways, or if you're feeling a certain way about Yahuwah, or it feels like your prayers are not being answered, or it just feels as though Yahuwah is just not there, that he has forsaken you, but you know deep down that you're doing everything, that you're praying and that you're praising and that you're striving to fast and that you're striving to get into the word and you're striving to keep Shabbat in his appointed times, but it just still feels like the things that you're really seeking and searching Yahuwah for, whether it's for a mate, whether it's for a partner, whether it's for a new house, whether it's for a better paying job, whatever the situation is, it just feels like Yahuwah is not answering, and it's felt this way for years, for some of you possibly longer than that. However, when you get in those ways, or when you get in that thought process, the first thing that you should be thinking about is, well, how does this relate to the word? Is there a lesson out of all this? And the better question is there someone in Scripture, or someone's plural in Scripture, who have felt this way, who have felt the way I'm feeling? And how can I take what they've learned, or how can I take their lessons and apply it to my kaya, or to my situation today? These are some of the things that you need to be thinking about if you have not already. And so one person that immediately comes to mind is Habakkuk, or Habakkuk. Habakkuk. Now again, remember, we told you that we're also going to be focusing on the language as well, getting into the ancient path. So I'm also going to be starting to share with you how to say certain words in the Yahudyth Paleo Hebrew. Again, striving to do the best we can with what we have and show you how I even do it as well. So again, we're in Habakkuk. Habakkuk. That means the book of Habakkuk. And we're in Habakkuk, or Habakkuk. That means chapter 1. And it says, the message which the prophet Habakkuk saw. O Yahuwah, till when shall I cry and you do not hear? I cry to you violence and you do not save. So boy, a lot of us are feeling this indeed, that we're crying out to Yahuwah, we're crying violence, we see what's going on, what our enemies are doing to us every single day, every single second, every single minute, And it just feels like time after time after appointed time, Yahuwah, it seems as though Yahuwah is not hearing, is not answering. Wow, we are not the only ones who feel that way. Nothing new under the sun. Why do you show me wickedness and cause me to see perversity? For ruin and violence are before me, and there is strife and contention arises. You even see this in Yasharal, all of the strife that's arising, all of the contention, all of the pointless, gratuitous debating, going back and forth. He said, she said, when the sun comes up, when the day begins, when the appointed times are, what calendar to use, this and that. It's all, see, nothing new is under the sun. Therefore, the Thurah or Torah ceases, and right ruling never goes forth. For the wrong him and the righteous, so that right ruling comes out twisted. Look among the nations and see, and be amazed. Be amazed, for work is being wrought in your days, which you would not believe if it were told. And see, we kind of see that even going on right now, that there are a lot of so-called assemblies that are twisting the word. Again, nothing new under the sun. See, I am raising up the Kashatayim, or the Chaldeans, a bitter and hasty nation who is going through the breadth of the arts or earth to possess dwelling places that are not theirs. Nothing new under the sun, because we see this even today, that who? The bitter and hasty nation today, that would be known as America. Wow. They are frightening and fearsome. Their right ruling and their exaltation proceed from themselves. Their horses shall be swifter than leopards and more fierce than evening wolves. And their horsemen shall charge ahead, and their horsemen come from afar. They fly as the eagle rushing to eat. Wow, what animal does this nation America refer itself to or uses in their flags and other places? The eagle. Very interesting and suspicious indeed. Again, this is to show you that nothing new is under the sun. Just like during the time of Babylon and the Babylonians, that nation, the Chaldeans, were the ones in power. It's the same spiritually today. All of them come for violence. The direction of their faces is like the east wind, and they gather captives like sand, just like America. And they scoff at sovereigns, and princes are a laughing matter to them, just like when America goes into these other countries, such as Iraq and all these other places. They laugh at every stronghold, for they pile up the arts and seize it. Then shall he pass on as a wind, and transgress and be guilty, and ascribe power, this power, to his mighty one, just like they do in their God, one nation under God, their LORD. Wow, nothing new under the sun. Are you not from everlasting, O Yahuwah, my Aluah, my made apart one? You do not die. O Yahuwah, you have appointed them for right ruling. O Rock, you've established them for reproof. So again, what Habakkuk is lamenting right now is Habakkuk is basically saying, Yahuwah, you're above the wickedness. Yahuwah, you are above everything that's going on. You're above all the evil. You are even in control of it, but why are you letting it go on like this? And I'm crying out to you. I'm lamenting that this evil is going forth, but you're just letting it go on. What is going on? Do you not hear what I'm saying? Are you not listening to what I'm saying? Does this sound like you? All right, now we're in verse 13. You whose eyes are too clean to see evil, you are not able to look on wrong. Why do you look on those who act treacherously? Keep silent when the wrong devours one more righteous than he, because this was what was going on back in the time of Babylon and Babylonian captivity, is that what they were devouring our people. And so again, Habakkuk is crying out and saying, why are you allowing this to happen? Why are you doing this? Isn't it kind of the same today? Why is Yahuwah allowing all this wickedness to go on even to this day? And would you make men like fish of the sea, like creeping creatures that have no ruler over them? The wicked foe has pulled all of them up with the hook, caught them in his net, and gathers them in his dragnet. Therefore he rejoices and exults. Isn't that what the wicked are doing today? So they think. Therefore he offers to his net and burns incense to his dragnet, for by them is his portion fat and his food is rich. Isn't that what your elite Illuminati are doing when they offer up children to the dead, and when they offer up children to the enemy, when they offer them up and drink their blood? Isn't that what they're doing to this day? Very interesting and suspicious indeed. Is he therefore to keep on emptying his net and slaying nations without sparing? So Habakkuk is basically saying, how long is this going to keep going on, that the wicked are just going to keep doing what they're doing? And it just seems and feels as though Yahuwah is not listening or being attentive to this matter, is basically what Habakkuk is saying here. So now we're going to get into Hasapar Shanya, Hasapar Shanya, Hasapar Shanya, and that means chapter 2. I stand at my watch and station myself on the watchtower and wait to see what he says to me and what to answer when I am reproved. And Yahuwah answered me and said, write the vision and inscribe it on tablets so that he who reads it runs. Oh, and by the way, we're going to be reading the entire book of Habakkuk together. So, and the book is 3 chapters long. So we're just going to read the entire book together instead of just one chapter. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, and it speaks of the end and does not lie. If it lingers, wait for it, for it shall certainly come, it shall not delay. So now Yahuwah is answering Habakkuk and is responding to Habakkuk's prayer and inquiry as we see right now. So again, we might be in the same situation, and it just immediately reminds me of Ecclesiastes chapter 3, where it says there is a time and a place for everything. So again, you might be praying for certain things, but it just might not be the right time for you to receive those things. And I know that can be very difficult and sometimes very frustrating for some of you to hear, like, well, what do you mean? I've been praying to Yahuwah for the X, Y, and Z for how many years, and I still have not gotten it yet. I've been praying to Yahuwah to get a promotion at that job, but it just feels like all these other people are getting promoted before me. I've been praying to Yahuwah to have a new baby, but it just feels like for the past 3 years I've not been able to, but yet this family over here, they're getting married. This family over there, they're having their first child. This family over here, they're having their 5th child, and I still can't even have my one, so it seems. You might be in this situation and predicament, but right now what Yahuwah needs you to know is that, again, if you're standing on Yahuwah and you've asked, seeked, and knocked, it will be given unto you, but you might have to wait. It just might not be the right time. It might not be the right time for you to have a baby because financially you're just not at that place to have a child, and Yahuwah is waiting to barak you with more finances, and then once that happens, then he will barak you with the new child. Maybe you're praying for that new job promotion, but Yahuwah knows that your current boss right now is just not the boss that you need to be under right now, so Yahuwah is waiting to potentially get rid of that boss to promote you to manager. But that can only happen though if you wait another year or two, or if you wait another month or two. Again, these are just scenarios. We don't know how Yahuwah works. Again, I don't know your situation, but I'm just telling you that this could be one of the reasons why it feels as though you're not hearing from Yahuwah, why it feels as though you're being silenced, or Yahuwah is silenced right now, or maybe there's just a test that you need to endure or pass in order to get to where it is that you need to go. Because remember this, the teacher is silent during the test, and so maybe that's where you are. Maybe you're being tested. Maybe your patience is being tested. Maybe your trust in Yahuwah is being tested as well. Because remember this, the enemy is constantly going up to Yahuwah, just like what happened to Ayuba and Job. And remember this, the enemy could have gone up to Yahuwah on your situation, and it could very well be a case or a matter of, oh, well, you know, they're not going to be patient and believe in you, Yahuwah. If you promise them X, Y, and Z, well, they're not going to be patient for it. See, give them a year, give them 2 years, and don't give them that. And guess what? They're going to turn away from you. Is this your situation? Could the devil be doing this in your case? Are you going to be patient, and are you going to withstand the test of time? Again, this could be your situation. So my prayer for you today is, after you watch this video, that you go to Yahuwah boldly to the throne, and that you pray about your situation and ask for confirmation about what it is when it comes to your situation, why you feel as though you're not hearing from Yahuwah, why you feel as though Yahuwah is silent or distant from you, because it very well could be these things. I don't know your situation, but it's important for you to understand where you are in your spiritual walk and journey. So we're going to keep going where it says, see, he whose being is not upright in him is puffed up, but the righteous one dwells by his steadfastness. And also, because wine betrays him, a man is proud, and he does not stay at home. Because he enlarges his appetite as the grave, and he is like death, and is not content, and gathers to himself all nations, and heaps up for himself all peoples. Shall not all these lift up a proverb against him, and a mocking riddle against him, and say, woe to him who increases what is not his? Till when is he to load on himself many pledges? Do not your creditors rise up suddenly, and those who make you tremble wake up, and you be plunder for them? Because you have plundered many nations, all the remnant of the people shall plunder you, because of men's blood, and doing violence to the land, to the city, and to all who dwell in it. Woe to him who is getting evil gain for his house, in order to place his nest on high, to escape the clutches of evil. You have counseled shame for your house, to cut off many peoples, and your being is transgression. For a stone from the wall cries out, and a beam from the timbers answer it. Woe to him who builds a town by blood and establishes a city by unrighteousness. And again, we saw that with what was going on with Babylon, and we also see that today with the wicked. See, it is not from Yahuwah of hosts that peoples labor only for fire, and nations weary themselves for naught. For the arts or earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the esteem of Yahuwah as the waters cover the sea. Woe to him who gives drink to his neighbor, pouring out your wineskin and also making him drunk, in order to look on their nakedness. You shall be filled with shame instead of esteem. Drink you too, and be exposed as uncircumcised. The cup of the right hand of Yahuwah shall come around to you, and great shame upon your esteem. For the violence done to Lebanon is to overwhelm you, and the ravaging of beasts by which you made them afraid, because of men's blood and the violence to the land, to the city, and of all who dwell in it. Of what use shall a carved image be? For its maker has carved it, a molded image and teacher of falsehood. For the maker trusts what he has made, to make dumb idols. Woe to him who says to wood, awake, and to silent stone, arise. Is it a teacher? See, it is overlaid with gold and silver, and there is no root or spirit at all inside of it. And again, this is referring to what? Idolatry, just like what's going on with these religions, into the churches, and all these other places. But Yahuwah is in his made apart hayakal, or what they call temple. Let all the arts of earth be silent before him. And let me just add to this. For those of you who might be feeling a certain way about Yahuwah in your spiritual walk and journey, for those of you who might be feeling as though, well, how come the wicked get to have these things and I don't get to have these things? How come the wicked get to find true love and I potentially don't as of right now? How come the wicked get to have big houses and big mansions and big cars and this and that, and they get to make 7 figures, if not more, and I don't? Let me tell you this right now, and let me warn you and say that you have to be careful that you are not coveting right now, because remember what the word says about that, thou shalt not covet. And yes, it's talking about those things that belong to your neighbor, but let me tell you why this is so very dangerous. And why this thought pattern is so very dangerous. Because remember our ancestors, when they had everything, when Yahuwah had given them everything, Yahuwah made a specific instruction to them that they were not to enlarge their borders, that they were not to take away from their neighbors' borders and make it their own. However, they started doing that anyway, as scripture talked about. And remember, we went over that video about repentance and scriptures often ignored. And we went over several of the reasons why we as a people are in this captivity to this day and why certain things are going on. Well, one of the main reasons that we're in this captivity that Yahuwah revealed to me, aside from idolatry, is the fact that our ancestors were coveting each other. And what I mean by that is basically, picture this. You have a mansion that's the size of the White House. Our ancestors had mansions that were the size of the White House, if not bigger than that, if not the size of some of these mansions that you see from these so-called celebrities like the Kardashians and these musicians, and the list goes on. So imagine that you have a mansion that size. Well, your mansion comes with 10 pools, your mansion comes with 50 rooms, but see, here's the issue though. Your neighbor right next door to you has a mansion with 60 rooms and with 15 pools. And you decide, well, your mansion's not big enough. You don't have enough room to swim. So you know what? I'd rather just have that mansion with 15 pools because it's bigger and it has more space. So what you decide to do is you decide to take that mansion as your own. What our ancestors were doing, however, is they took it a step further. They decided they wanted the second mansion, the bigger one, and they decided to murder for it. They decided to steal it. And then when it came to going to the officials and the high courts of Yasharal, they declared themselves not guilty. They not only stole and plundered that mansion that did not belong to them, they murdered for it. And then when they murdered for it, they declared themselves not guilty. And that's part of the reason why we see what's going on in this captivity today. That's part of the reason why you see these so-called police shootings. That's part of the reason why you see our people being murdered on the streets. And again, whose possessors hold themselves not guilty. Part of that is rooted in what our ancestors were doing right there. Take a look at King David as well. He coveted after a woman that was not his. He coveted after Bathsheba so badly that he did what? He committed murder to get her and caused her to commit adultery. So again, in the process, breaking 3 of the 10 commandments right there. So again, the reason I'm telling you all this and cautioning against this is you have to be really grateful and thankful for the things Yahuwah has given you, for the things Yahuwah has bestowed upon you, and also for what Yahuwah will continue to do. Yahuwah has made promises to you, but it just seems like he's being silent and not answering right now. Honestly, folks, that could be impatience on your part, and it could be selfishness on your part. I'm not telling you that's what it is. I'm not trying to condemn you right now. I'm just keeping it real and saying you have to really take a look and examine yourself if you already have not. Understand why you are having these feelings that you are having, if you are having them, and really examine and see if that's what it is, or are you even taking a look at Yahuwah's perspective? Are you bothering to take a look at his perspective, or are you only trying to see things your way? Again, that's for you to decide, but you also have to understand that, again, in this walk, that it's a hard pressed walk, just like the word talks about. It's not meant to be, oh, everything is easy and everything is rosy. No, you're going to have to learn lessons. You're going to have to go through trials. You're going to have to go through tribulations. And sometimes it's going to feel like you're standing on your own, but you're not. You're on that rock who is YAHUSHA. So therefore, you have nothing to fear and worry about. But sometimes you might go through these moments, but you have to understand what they're for, understand that there is a lesson behind it, and understand that Yahuwah is using it to strengthen you more and more, and to strengthen your trust in him. And that's the important part that you need to see today. Now, we're going to go into chapter 3. So Hasapar Shalush. Hasapar Shalush. That means chapter 3. And again, like I said, prayerfully, Yahuwah willing, in the times to come, we'll be able to expand on the language. But this will probably, for most of you, be the first verse that you ever see in the Yahudyth together. And we're going to go over where it says, verse 1, a prayer of Habakkuk, the prophet, on what they call Shigionoth. I don't even know if I said that right, but that's how it's listed in most translations today. So we're going to go over a quick Yahudyth 101 lesson, and we're going to be asking ourselves, how can we say this in the Yahudyth? Yes, this entire sentence, how can we say it in the Yahudyth? So when you break it down, so you see a prayer of Habakkuk, the prophet, on Shigionoth. So again, when we actually want to take a look at this and break it apart, well, we see I've highlighted some of the words right here just so that you can see. So prayer is highlighted, so that's 1. Habakkuk, that's 2. And then you have the prophet. Now again, it's important that you understand in the Yahudyth, and I prayerfully will be able to go over and expound upon this a little bit more when I actually talk more about the language. But in our language, when you see the word the, again, the English has these words, the prophet, as 2 words. But in our language, the word the is actually known as a prefix. So because it's a prefix, it's actually just 1 word. So it's the prophet, it's 1 word. And then on, that's a preposition, and then this is the place. So when you actually put it together, you get thapala, thapala, thapala. That word means prayer. So this is how it's listed, thapala. And you see the 4 letters right here. Again, it's read from right to left. Habakkuk, his name is right here, read from right to left. And then again, Hanabia, Hanabia, the prophet. The prophet. If you just have the word prophet, it's just going to be Nabia, not ha in front of it. So it's Hanabia, and then al means on, the ayan and the lam. And then you also have this word right here. Now in the restored tongue, it's pronounced Shagyanutha, 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 Shagyanutha. So when you put it together, that sentence actually reads this: Thapala Habakkuk Hanabia al Shagyanutha. Thapala Habakkuk Hanabia al Shagyanutha. Thapala Habakkuk Hanabia al Shagyanutha. A prayer, or just prayer, Habakkuk, the prophet, Hanabia, on al Shagyanutha. Now, I know some of you are probably saying, well, Truth Unveiled, that's great. That's wonderful that you're telling us this, but you're probably wondering, well, but how do you pronounce it like that? Why do you pronounce it like that? Where are you getting this from? And how can I do this? And how can I try it out on my own? So I'm just going to briefly share with you how I'm able to do it and how Yahuwah has led me to do it. Now, again, there are plenty of ways that you can try this, but the way that I do it is I take a verse or I look up a word in the Strong's Concordance. So where I am at right now is biblehub.com. I go to the interlinear right here. So it's the interlinear. And the reason I'm here is because this is going to help me with the language. So I see in this particular verse that I'm looking for, Habakkuk or Habakkuk 3:1 as it's known in the English, I look at it and I say, all right, so this is the verse read from right to left. This is in the modern Hebrew now, so-called. So I see that it has 5 words right here. So I'm looking at these 5 words. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at each one. Now, again, if you're looking to learn the language and if you want to learn the language, this is not a requirement. But for those of you who are interested in learning the language and want to start pronouncing words and want to start looking up the words, it's important for you to learn the modern Hebrew and each of the modern Hebrew letters. It's very important. So because what you're going to have to start doing is kind of working your way backwards, working your way in a full circle. Because what you're going to do is you're going to take each of these letters in the modern Hebrew and then you're going to basically convert them into the Yahudyth. So for example, this first word right here means prayer. Now, again, the Jewish, they pronounce it as tefillah, or however they pronounce it. Well, let's just say it's tefillah. It might even be tefillah. Let's say that's how they pronounce it. So again, this has 4 letters in it. So again, it's important that you know what those letters are in the modern Hebrew. You do not have to know the nikud or the vowel pointing. That is not a requirement. But you do need to know, all right, what are these 4 letters in our language? So this one is what they call the tav, or the thu. So now I'm going to go to a website called lexilogos.com. I'm going to look up what they call the Phoenician keyboard, which is our Yahudyth keyboard. So here is the keyboard right here of the 22 letters. So again, it's almost like, and you can even do this activity with your children. I find it a really fun activity because what you're doing is you're taking each letter and it's almost like a code. It's almost like you're encoding the Yahudyth. All right, so we know in the modern that this is the tav. Well, what is the so-called tav in the Yahudyth? That would be the final letter of the alphabet right here. So I put that in the thu right there. So that's how my first letter. I go back here and I see that this is a pa. So what is that in our language? Well, this is the pa right here. And I keep doing the same thing. And as I keep going, I get the lam right here because this is the lam or the lamed as it's known. So I put it in the actual keyboard right here. That's how I'm able to get that. And then the final letter, I get the hey or the ah. So and for us, that is right here. And that is how I get it. So when I put that together, when you actually take a look right here and when you see it together right here, hopefully you're able to see it. That is the first word. So that's the first word right there. Now you're probably wondering, all right, but how do I get that pronunciation though? This pronunciation right here, the pala, well, take a look. The first letter is the TH or the thu, the TH, and then the P, and then the lam, the L, and then the ah at the end. So when you put it together, it sounds like thapala, thapala, thapala. And you can keep going with each of the letters right here as I have done. So again, Habakkuk, this is the KH, the Ka, Ba, and then the K, the Q, and then the U. Remember, this letter right here is the U. So it makes the U sound. And then the Q again at the end, you get Habakkuk, Habakkuk, Habakkuk. And then Hanabia, so we know that this is Nabia because the noon, the Ba, the Yod, and the Ah. So again, that's Nabia, Nabia, and you're just putting Ha at the front of it. So Hanabia, Hanabia, Hanabia. And then Al, again, this is the what? The Ayan, the A, the Lam, the L. So Al, or Al. And then Shagyanuta, Shagyanuta. The Shan, the Gam, the Yod, the Noon, the U, and the Tha. So again, when you put that together right here, sorry, I'm trying to highlight it right now. So when you put it together, you get all of that. So you get the Sha and then the Ga, the Shag, and then you have the Yod and then the Noon. So you have Yan, and then you have the Noon, the U, and the Tha, Nutha, Nutha. So put it together, Shagyanutha, Shagyanutha, Shagyanutha. And again, how do we figure that out? Again, when you put all of these together, when you take all of these, so all of these right here, the bolded letters right here, you take these, you figure out what they are. And another way you can figure it out is you can look at this handy dandy chart right here. So you can even research this online. There are Paleo Hebrew and Modern Hebrew alphabet charts that you can use. So like for this last letter right here, or for this last word, all right, I see that there are 6 letters right here. So again, how can I tell, or how can I convert them into the Paleo Hebrew or the Yahudyth? Well, I can go here and say, all right, this is the shin in the modern Hebrew as we know today. So this is how it is in the Yahudyth. So that's the shan. So that's my first letter right there. So that gives me indication when I go back here that I can put in my first letter right there. So I figured that one out. So then when I look at it again, there is the gam right there. So how can I figure that out, what that is in the Yahudyth? Well, if I go back to my chart, I see that the gam right there is the third letter, or what they call the gimel. It looks like that, or the G. So, and it's pronounced as a G. So that I have my SH right here and my G right there. So that's shag. So now I can put that in right here to get my Yahudyth. So then now I have my first 2 letters. Then I just have these 4 right here. So now I go right here and I see, well, what letter is that one? The third one, because it goes from right to left. So when I look at my yod over here, I see it's the same match right there. It's identical to this letter and it makes the Y sound. So then when I go to my keyboard, I'm able to see the Y right here, an identical match. So then I put that in right there as my third letter. When I keep going, I then find what's the 4th letter. It's a noon. How do I know? Because when I look at my chart, I go to the N, as it's commonly known, the N right here, the noon, as you see right here, it even gives you the numerical value. I see that that's what it is. That's how it looks in the Yahudyth. So I go back to my keyboard and I put in the noon right here. So now I have the first 4 letters of the 6. I go back and do the same thing for the 5th and 6th letter. I see that it's a U right there. So that's a ooh. And again, for us, it makes the ooh sound. It makes the ooh sound. So again, I go here and there's my ooh right there. Now, again, this keyboard's going to have different notation. They're going to say that it's a W. But again, we've done videos on how it's actually an ooh, the ooh sound, and how double U is double ooh. Ooh. So then the final letter is again the tav. So I go right here to my chart that helps me figure out, all right, there's that letter right there. It's the T. Now again, what you have to know is that for this, it's actually TH. There are a lot of charts that are going to say it's a T, but it has to distinguish from the tat. And so to give that distinguish, it has to be a TH. So then when you put it here, right there, because even they have it as a T, this is what you get. You get all 6. So when you put it together, you have the SH, the G, the Y, the N, the U, and the TH. So it's Shagyanutha, 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 Shagyanutha. So again, that is just one way how I'm able to do it for those of you who've been wondering. This is kind of like the behind the scenes of how YAHUAH enables me to be able to find words in the Yahudyth and convert them over from the modern Hebrew and the modern Hebrew pronunciations to the Yahudyth Paleo Hebrew pronunciations and how it actually looks, and putting it all together. And you can do the same thing. And prayerfully, I know this was kind of quick, but prayerfully, I will be able to do more in-depth lessons and in-depth studies on this topic and just other words, including numbers, including other basic Yahudyth as well. Prayerfully, YAHUAH willing, that will be the case, and prayerfully that will manifest this year. I'm still keeping in prayer about that, but again, prayerfully this just gives you a quick scope of how you can do it as well. But we're going to keep going on with Habakkuk, Shalush, or Habakkuk 3, where it says, and this is verse 1, Thapala Habakkuk Hanabia al Shagyanutha, or the prayer of Habakkuk, the prophet on Shagyanutha. And then it goes on to say, O YAHUAH, I have heard your report. I was afraid. O YAHUAH, renew your work in the midst of the years. Make it known in the midst of the years. In wrath, remember compassion. Alua comes from Thayaman, or what they call Taman, and the Meta part 1 from Mount Paran, Salah. His splendor shall cover the Shamayim, or heavens, and his praise fill the arts, or earth. And the brightness is as the light. He has raised from his hand, and there is power his hidden. Before him goes pestilence, and a burning flame goes forth at his feet. He shall stand and measure the arts or earth. He shall look and shake the nations, and the ancient mountains are shattered, the age-old hills shall bow, Slakia. His ways are everlasting. I saw the tents of Cushan under sorrow. The curtains of the land of Madayan or Midian tremble. Shall Yahuwah burn against the rivers? Is your displeasure against the rivers? Is your wrath against the sea, that you ride on your horses, your chariots of saving? You uncover your bow, the oaths of the rod of the word, Salah. You cut through the arts or earth with rivers. The mountains shall see you, they tremble. The storm of water shall pass over. The deep shall give forth its voice. It shall lift up its hands. Sun, moon shall stand still in their places. Like light your arrows fly. Like lightning is your glittering spear. You step through the arts or earth in rage. You thresh the nations or Gentiles in wrath. You shall go forth to save your people, to save your anointed. You shall smite the head from the house of the wrong by laying bare from the foundation to neck, Salah. You shall pierce with his own arrows the head of the leaders, or his leaders. They stormed along to scatter me, rejoicing as if to devour the poor in secret. You shall tread the sea with your horses, the foaming of many waters. I heard and my body trembled. My lips quivered at the sound. Rottenness came into my bones. And I trembled within myself that I might rest for the day of distress to come upon the people who would attack us. Though the fig tree does not blossom, and there is no fruit on the vine, the yield of the olive has failed, and the fields brought forth no food. The flock has been cut off from the fold, and there is no herd in the stalls. Yet I exult in Yahuwah, I rejoice in the Yahuwah of my saving. Yahuwah the sovereign is my strength, and he makes my feet like those of deer, and makes me walk on my high places, to the chief singer with my stringed instruments. So again, as we read the end of Habakkuk, we see that Habakkuk, he takes hope and refuge in Yahuwah. He finds his strength in Yahuwah, and we see that all throughout King David and the Psalms. We see that through time and time again, even Job, that what does he say? Though you slay me, I shall still serve thee. That despite what's going on around us, that we have to continue to put our trust in Yahuwah. We continue to exalt in Yahuwah, because we know Yahuwah will save us. Just like he saved our ancestors of old, so also will he save us. And I know, folks, that is a very difficult thing to do. It's very difficult to keep your trust in Yahuwah when it feels like Yahuwah is not listening. It's very difficult to do to keep your trust in Yahuwah when it feels like Yahuwah is not hearing you, or if it feels like Yahuwah is making you wait years and years and years and years and months and months and months and months and decades for the things that you are praying for the things that you've asked him for. I know that that's a very difficult thing and a very difficult, tough situation and place to be in. But see, this is, again, like the word says, here is the Amunah and patience of the Kedushim, or the saints. Those that are those of us who are keeping his commandments, and the Amunah of Yahusha. And again, that's those times we have to even cling to Yahuwah even more. Sometimes we want to be like Yahuwah and run away, or Jonah. We want to be just like him and run away from Yahuwah. But what you have to understand, to avoid that lesson of being in the whale for 3 days and 3 nights, you have to run to Yahuwah for Yahuwah to lead and guide you, even when it seems as though you're getting nowhere. Again, you have to change your perception, change your thinking, change your perspective, and get a renewed mind in Yahusha, so that you can see things from Yahuwah's standpoint, so that Yahuwah himself can make you understand why you're in the situation that you're in, so you can see it not from your own understanding. I'm being really adamant about this right now, because there are some of you who just really need to hear this right now. And again, you are not alone in how you feel. You're not alone in how you feel when it feels like Yahuwah has forsaken you. How do I know this? Because Malak Da'u Yada felt the exact same way in Psalms 22. And this passage and chapter is a foreshadow of Yahusha. So when people are claiming that Yahusha is nowhere in the so-called Old Testament, here he is right here. All right, so now we're here in Psalms 22. Now, if I want to say this by Yahudyth, I would say Thalium Asharyam Shanya, Thalium Asharyam Shanya, Thalium Asharyam Shanya. Now, if I just want to write it in the actual Yahudyth notation, this is how it would look right here, because the 22 right there is the Kop, that's 20, and then the Bath, that's 2, so 20 plus 2 is 22. So that's if you're just writing it, but if you want to actually say it, this is how it would sound, Thalium Asharyam Shanya, and this is how it would look if you're actually writing 22 out in our language. Now, again, you might be wondering, well, how do I come up with this and how do I pronounce these numbers the way that I pronounce them? Like I said, Yahuwah willing, I'm really praying that I will be able to do a Yahudyth 101 type of lesson and start a new series on that where I will go into even more detail about each of the numbers and how to write and say the numbers, each of them from 1 to 10, how to say numbers like 12 from 1 to 100 and beyond. But what you can do to get started right now, if you're interested, is again, go to a modern Hebrew chart and see how it is said and see how it is pronounced. Now, I'm led to use the masculine just to start off with because, again, numbers can be masculine or feminine. It's very important. And again, this is grammatical stuff now that we're talking about, but it is important to know that the Yahudyth language does have masculine and feminine words. So that is very important. This is mostly common in other languages as well, the masculine and feminine. It's not really as common in the English. Again, this is stuff that we will go over at another time for another video. But the reason I'm here is because, again, if you want to say 1 in the Yahudyth, well, you would take a look at the modern Hebrew. Once again, you would go to the lexilogos. You would see, all right, what those letters are. So here are the 3 letters. You would go to the chart to see how you can actually see what those letters are. So you have the akkad or the all right here. So there's the all, or what they call the aleph. There's 1. Then the second one is the kat right here. And then the third letter is the dal, or what they call the dalet. So again, you would see that right there. And then you would put those 3 letters in right here. So you have the all, then you have the kat, and then you have the dal. And then that's how you get akkad, akkad, akkad. You just put it all together like that, and you can do it for each and every single one. And like I said, we'll go into more detail about that later. But just for those of you who are wondering why I say the numbers and write them out the way that I do. Again, you can think of this video as an intro or a preview to the Yahudyth 101 lesson because that's pretty much how it would be structured and how we would go about talking about it. But again, from that's how you would do it. And we would talk about too how you would say like things like 22 and so on and so forth. And because Asharyam, that's 20. This word right here means 20 right there. Sorry, my mouse is acting up. But Asharyam, that means 20. And then Shanya, that means 2 right there. So we put them together, 22. So the actual verse says, my all, why have you forsaken me, far from saving me, far from the words of my groaning? Do you feel like that? Because King David sure enough felt like that. Oh, my Yahuwah, I call by day, but you do not answer, and by night I find no rest. Maybe you're calling Yahuwah by day, but it seems as though he's not answering. By night, it just feels as though you're not finding any rest. Yet you are made apart and thrown on the praises of Yahshua. So again, what does King David do? He still trusts in Yahuwah. He still praises Yahuwah, even despite not hearing from Yahuwah when he wants to. Then it goes on to say, our fathers trusted in you. They trusted and you saved them. So if Yahuwah saved them, don't you think he's going to do the same for you? They cried to you and were saved. They trusted in you and were not ashamed. Well, I'm pretty sure we're all crying to Yahuwah because of what our enemies are doing. At least I hope that's what we're doing. Verse 6 says, but I am a worm. Remember, we went over this video in a previous Scriptures Often Forgotten series. And no man, a reproach of men and despised by the people. If you would like to learn more about what this word actually means and how it relates to the color scarlet and relates to the color red, you can definitely take a look. I will link the video as well, make it a card so you can have access to it. All those who see me mock me. They shoot out the lip. They shake the head, saying, he trusted in Yahuwah. Let him rescue him. Let him save him, seeing he has delighted in him. Is that what your enemies are doing? Is that what the police are doing? Is that what people around you are doing? Is that what your relatives are doing when they don't understand your walk, when they don't understand Yahuwah, when they don't understand that you're, oh, what religion are you in? Oh, you're not calling on JC. Well, let that Yahuwah, who's this Yahuwah? Is probably how they're reacting. They're supposed to. Because Yahuwah is the one who took me out of the womb, causing me to trust while on my mother's breast. I was cast upon you from birth. From my mother's belly you have been my all. Do not be far from me, for distress is near, for there is none to help. Many bulls have surrounded me. Strong ones of Bashan have encircled me. And also, please understand, when Scripture talks about animals in parables, animals can also symbolize who? Other nations. So it's also a symbol of what? Other nations have surrounded us. Other nations have surrounded and have devoured us. But again, we keep our trust in who? In Yahuwah. They have opened their mouths against me as a raging and roaring lion. Another animal reference. I've been poured out like water, and all my bones have been spread apart. My heart has become like wax. It is melted in the midst of my inward parts. Isn't this talking about YAHUSHA? My strength is dried like a potsherd, and my tongue is cleaving to my jaws, and to the dust of death you are pointing me. For dogs have surrounded me, a sea again, animals again, nations. A crowd of evil ones have encircled me, piercing my hands and my feet. Didn't that happen to Yahusha at Passover? Is that what this is trying to tell you? Is that what this is a foreshadow of? Very interesting and suspicious indeed. I count all my bones. They look, they stare at me. They divide my garments among them, and for my raiment they cast lots. Didn't they do that with Yahusha? Very interesting and suspicious indeed. And we see that in the so-called Old Testament? Wow, that's not a surprise or a coincidence. But you, O Yahuwah, do not be far off. O my strength, hasten to help me. So again, it might feel as though we're not getting the help when we need it to or when we want it to be, but Yahuwah is still going to what? Save us. Save my being from the sword, my only kaya or life from the power of what? The dog, the enemy, these other nations. Save me from the mouth of the lion and from the horns of the wild beast, these other nations. You have answered me. I make known your name to my brothers in the midst of the assembly. I praise you. You who fear Yahuwah, praise him. All you seed of Jacob, esteem him and fear him. All you seed of Yasharal. So again, Yahuwah still instructs us to praise him, to esteem him, to reverence him. For he has not despised nor hated the affliction of the afflicted, nor has he hidden his face from him. But when he cried to him, he heard. And again, this is where Amunah belief comes in. You have to make sure that your Amunah is still in Yahuwah, that when you're crying out, that yes, Yahuwah hears you. Do not say that, oh, I'm crying out and Yahuwah has not heard me. That is not true. What does he do with our tears? He seals them in a bottle according to his word. You have to believe the word is true, even when it feels as though it's not. You have to believe that the word is true, even though it might not seem so, because you might be leading on your own understanding, or it's not true the way you think it should be. Folks, this is really important for some of you who have been in your spiritual walk and journey with Yahuwah Yahusha for a long time now, and I'm talking for years, meaning you are not new to this walk. Folks, it's time to do better if you're not already doing better. It's time, like for some of you folks, these tests that you're receiving are not new to you. These tests are reviews. These tests are things that you should have already mastered. Again, I don't know your spiritual walk and journey, but folks, it is important for us to keep trusting in Yahuwah and understanding that when these tests and trials come, if they're looking to be the same test and trial that you received how many years ago, then again, Yahuwah is trying to see, did you master this test by now? You should already trust him by now with this certain situation if you are already not doing that. That's the important part that Yahuwah is trying to get you to see right now. Again, it goes on to say, from you is my praise in the great assembly. I pay my vows before those who fear him. Not only that, but again, when it comes to Yahuwah, what he's also testing, will we praise him? Will we praise him despite what we're going through, or will we complain about it? Will we sit there and complain and be like, oh, this is not happening. Oh, that's not happening. Oh, this isn't happening. And see, folks, if we get in that mind, what tends to start happening is that we're not thankful for what Yahuwah has done for us. We don't remember what he's done for us and all the signs and wonders he's done for us individually when we start, again, trying to compare ourselves to others or what others have, what we do not have. Or when we start to say, oh, if only we had it this way, or if only it were that way, or if only it were like this, or if only it were like that. But are you still being thankful and grateful for the things Yahuwah has given you? How Yahuwah has given you that promotion if he's done that? How he has given you a new home if he's done that? If he has given you a new child or a new Asha or whatever the case is, Asha means wife, or if he's giving you a brand new husband or a new helpmate or whatever the case is, remember what Yahuwah has already done for you. Are you remembering that, or is that just out the window when it's a new trial and tribulation? Is that just out the window, or have you just completely forgotten about all that because of another trial and because of another tribulation? Because see, that's what our ancestors did when they were in the wilderness. They just completely forgot about what Yahuwah just did for them. They completely forgot about the Passover account. They completely forgot about the Exodus. They completely forgot that Yahuwah just parted the sea of reeds on their behalf so that they could walk through, and then trampled all of our enemies with that same water that they were able to walk through. They just completely forgot about all that. They completely forgot and completely went right back to complaining, moaning, whining, and now look at where we are. How many thousands of years later? So again, the important thing is to what can help you in this is to continue to thank and praise Yahuwah for what you have, for the things he's done for you already. That's why Yahuwah tells us we are to teach the Passover story to our children so that we do not forget the things Yahuwah has done for us, so that we continue to praise and thank Yahuwah, so that we can have that gratitude, so that we do not start complaining and end up potentially cursing Yahuwah and ourselves. Or even worse, potentially leaning on our own understanding. And then what? Now we're making ourselves into a mighty one because we're saying things like, oh, well, it's not how I think it should be. Oh, it's not how I think it should go. Things aren't happening the way I think they should go. That is a form of negativity, and that brings forth spirits of negativity. That brings forth spirits of doubt. It brings forth a whole host of spirits that you might not be aware of. And like we've talked about on this channel before, when it comes to spiritual warfare, what you have to understand is that these spirits come in droves. These spirits come in legions. So it's not just one, it's a bunch of spirits that are going to start coming if you are thinking or saying those things. It's the spirit of negativity. Then the spirit of perversion starts to come. Then their sister spirits and brother spirits start to come as well. Jealousy, bitter. Now you're bitter and angry towards Yahuwah. Now here comes that spirit of anger. Now you're mad at Yahuwah when you don't have the understanding, or you're not understanding it from Yahuwah's perspective. Now your mind is also twisted and perverted as well. Now there's that spirit of perversion again. And now here comes pride, because you cannot be taught the way of Yahuwah to see it in Yahuwah's perspective if you are not understanding right away. So now here comes that spirit as well. Here comes pride. Here comes unteachableness, because now you're not being meek and you're not being humble and submitting to Yahuwah when it comes to your situation. And then impatience, if you're like, oh, well, I want things right now. I want it to be my way right now. Now here comes selfishness, here comes pride, here comes idolatry, because you're putting yourself above Yahuwah if you're doing that. And then here come a whole other host of spirits, like what happened with David and what happened with Bathsheba. Here comes the spirit of murder. Here comes the spirit of adultery. Here comes all of these things that you were not expecting. One way to reverse it is to still be thankful and grateful and praising Yahuwah. That is the best thing you can do to shake all of those spirits away, because what you're doing now is you're humbling yourself before Yahuwah. Now here comes humility. Here comes love, because you're still loving Yahuwah. Here comes trust, because you're putting your trust in Yahuwah. Here comes amunah, belief, because you're still believing, and Yahuwah will grant you and enable you the endurance and the patience that will come with it to be able to endure to the point where Yahuwah will barak you and will give you that understanding, and Yahuwah will cause you to understand why you had to wait a long time for what you had to wait for, why you had to wait on Yahuwah, why he was not answering when you wanted him to answer at first. Now it starts to make sense, because remember, it even says here, the meek ones, being meek, having a meek, teachable ruach or spirit. The meek ones do eat and are contented. Let those who seek him praise Yahuwah. Let your heart dwell forever. Let all the ends of the arts or earth remember and turn to Yahuwah, and all clans of the nations bow themselves before you. For the reign belongs to Yahuwah, and he is ruling over the nations. All the fat ones of the arts shall eat and bow themselves. All who go down to the dust bow before him, even he who did not keep living his own kaya or life. A seed shall serve him. It is declared of Yahuwah to the coming generation. They shall come and declare his righteousness to a people yet to be born, for he shall do it. And finally, the last passage that I would like to go over today is Matthew 27:45 through 50, because YAHUSHA felt the exact same way when he was on the stake, literally about to die on Passover day. Now again, folks, this is not to condemn you. This message is not to condemn you. It's just to prayerfully help you understand and realize the situation you're in and why you might be in that situation. And again, folks, this is not to take away the fleshly part. Like the word says, the ruach is willing, but the flesh flesh is weak. So again, sometimes your flesh will have those feelings and those thoughts of, oh, why is it me? Or why am I waiting so long? And oh, why is Yahuwah taking so long? And why is this taking so long? And why is that taking so long? I've been prayed for this and it still hasn't happened. But yet this person, they get it before me. They don't even call on his name. Listen, folks, I get it. I've been there. I know where you are. Listen, I get it. And so did YAHUSHA, so did King David, so did Habakkuk. And that's why I'm sharing this with you right now, because again, these are some tools and things that you can use, and we can look back at our ancestor stories to see, all right, well, how did Yahuwah help them overcome it? Well, if Yahuwah helped them, he's going to be our help as well. So long as we're calling on his name, keeping his commandments, and not being led astray and not going astray. That's the important part for us to realize, because again, what the enemy wants us to do and is trying to get us to do is to be like, is whispering in our ears, oh, well, you know, Yahuwah has not done that for you. Yahuwah still hasn't answered that prayer yet. Oh, why keep serving him then? Why do you want to keep serving Yahuwah and he's not even hearing you? Why do you want to keep serving Yahuwah and he's not even answering you? How about you come serve me instead? Do you see where this can lead to? Folks, this is some real important stuff that's going on. The spiritual warfare is real, and I know for a fact that the enemy is trying to sow these seeds into your minds and into your hearts, and you cannot let that happen. How do you not let that happen? Is like what we talked about in our Living Righteously video about mind elevation. Elevating your mind to keep thanking and praising Yahuwah, because what? Serpents cannot reach those heights. Serpents cannot reach those heights of those mountains. They can't reach there. They cannot get to your mind if you're placing your mind there. But if you're willfully giving in, well, you can expect certain things to take place. So again, the trust part is important. And folks, I know it's not easy. I know it's hard. I know it's difficult. But again, Yahuwah is doing it for a purpose. You just have to trust the process and trust in Yahuwah even when you do not understand it, because his ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts, just like the word says. So anyway, we're here in Matthew 25, 45 through 50. Again, this is how the Yahudyth notation would look. This is Matthew, that's how it would look. And then 27 is the 20, and then the 7 right there, that's 27. Ma, that's 45. The mom is 40. The ah is 5, and then the dash and the noon is 50. And you can look at that chart like we've talked about. It shows you the numbers as well. Now, if you want to actually say it in the language, this is how you would say Matthew 27, 45 to 50. Now, what I've done is I've highlighted the 2 right here because that is a preposition. Now, remember, in our language, prepositions is embedded to an actual word. So it's not 2 separate words. It's actually used as one word. And you're going to see what I mean. And again, that's why I'm praying I'm going to be able to do lessons on this stuff, because this is a lesson in and of itself when it comes to prenominative suffixes and prenominative prefixes. It's a whole lesson in and of itself. But for the sake of time and for the sake of this video, to say this, you would say Mathatyahu Asharyam. Asharyam means 20. Asharyam. Shabaq. Shabaq means 7. And then 45 to 50 would be right here. Arbayam Kamash. Arbayam means 40. Kamash means 5. So put the 2 together, you get 45. Arbayam Kamash. La Kamashyam. 250. Again, this attaches to this word right here to make it a prefix. La Kamashayam. Kamashayam means 50. Now, isn't it interesting? The word 5 is kamash. If you just add 5 plural, because the yam at the end, or these 2 letters right here, is plural, that makes it 50. So 5 plural is kamashium. Again, the word 4 is arba. Well, if you add arbayam, that makes it plural, or 40. And again, we'll talk about that more in another video to come. We just don't have time to do that now. But this is how it would look in the actual Yahudyth. So Matthew, Asharyam 20, Shabaq 7. And again, you can pause the video for each letter and say, all right, Asharyam. That's the Ayan, the Shan, the Rash, the Yod, the Mam. So that's Asharyam, Asharyam, when you put it together. And then Shabaq, 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 the Shan, the Bath, and the Ayan. And then Arbayam, Kamash, Arbayam, Kamash 45. La, so there's the la right there. 2, la, that's the prefix, la, and then you have kamashyam right here, which are these 5 letters that are not highlighted. That means 50, kamashyam, 50. So the verse itself says, and from the 6th hour there was darkness all over the land until the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour, Yahusha cried out with a loud voice, saying, Al Yah, lama Shabaqtanya. That is, my all, why have you forsaken me? Now, I've actually done the liberty of taking these words right here, these 4 words, and translating them into Yahudyth. So it would look like this, Al Yah. So again, this right here is what? This is a suffix right here. The yod at the end of this is a suffix. When it's attached to a noun like all, it makes it the word my. It makes it a possessive to make it my, so it becomes my all. If you just have the all right here, it's just all, or mighty one. But when you put the yod at the end of it, again, that makes it a suffix, that makes it a possessive, or my all. And again, that is a grammatical Yahudyth lesson that prayerfully we will go over in future videos, but that's where that comes from. So all Yah, when he says that, he's saying my all. Lama, that means why, so it's like a question. Lama, why, it's like a question article, why. And then Shabaqtanya, and we're going to go over that word together. So Shabaq, the first 3 letters, it actually, a better translation of this is to leave alone. So Shabaq means leave alone. And then right here, this suffix right there, the last 3 letters right here, Thanya means me. It's in reference to me. Why are you leaving me alone? So when you put it together, my all, why do you leave me alone? Why do you leave me? Why do you leave me here? You can find more of this in Strong's H7662, Shabaq, to learn more. We're going to be going over that in just a moment to come. But the verse goes on to say, some of those standing there, having heard, said, this one calls all Yahu, or Elijah. And immediately one of them ran and took a sponge and filled it with sour wine and put it on a reed and gave it to him to drink. But the rest said, leave it. Let us see if all Yahu comes to save him. Again, just like what King David went through, where again, these people are saying, well, Yahu is your all. Let's see if he comes to save you. And Yahusha cried out again with a loud voice and gave up his ruach or spirit. And again, we just observed this memorial when on Passover day. So it then goes on to say, we have right here a brief Yahudyth lesson right here. And I quickly added the Yahudyth word right here so you can see it, but Shabaq. So this is from Strong's H7662. So this is what Yahusha quoted in the actual Yahudyth, or the Hebrew. Now again, in the Strong's, it only goes up to the so-called Old Testament. So it only has 5 occurrences in the so-called Old Testament. But the word itself actually means to leave alone, quit, let alone, to be left alone. So again, when Yahusha says, all Yah, laba Shabaqtanya, what he's actually saying is, my all, why do you leave me alone? Why have you left me alone? Basically, and almost you can even say, why have you quit on me, is what he's basically saying. Like, why have you just left me alone? Why have you quitted on me? Basically, so when you do the pictograph, you have the first letter Shan, that means teeth, consume, destroy. Bath means house or inn, and Kap, or the ku right here, is behind, sun on horizon. So the pictograph means destroy the house behind. Now it's interesting that it has the same root, or the same first 2 letters right here as Shabbath, which means, of course, to cease or to rest, or like Shabbat, the Sabbath day, the 7th day of rest. The root Shab itself means to turn back or return right here. Now, part of you also see that another witness for that is referenced in Strong's H7725 in the word shub, and that word means to turn back, to return. Repent is what that word means, to turn back. So it's interesting how you see that root without the u, it's the shan and the bath, how you see that root in this word right here, Shabaq, that means to leave alone, and the word Shabbath, that means to rest or cease or desist. And then you even see the 2 letters in shub with the u in between it, that also means to turn back or return, repent. So again, Shabbat can also mean to turn behind, or somebody turning their back on you when you actually look at it. So really, it can also mean what? To turn behind, somebody turning their back on you. So when Yahusha says that, he's basically questioning to Yahuwah, why are you turning your back on me? Why are you turning behind me? Why are you turning away from me? However, this is a different word than what David quotes, because King David quotes this word right here. So again, they're quoting 2 different words. They are not quoting the same word. Let me repeat that. They are not quoting the same word. They are quoting two different words. The word that King David quotes when he says, "Why hast thou forsaken me?" or to forsake, he's quoting this word right here, Azab, Azab, Azab in Strong's 5800. And that word means to leave, forsake, abandon, or lose, or loose. That's what that word means. It occurs 211 times in the so-called Old Testament. And when you do the pictograph, so you have the ayan, that means see, experience, or eye. The zan, that means weapon. And then the ba, that means house or inn. So pictographically, it means see, house, weapon. See the house, weapon. See the house, weapon. Or to leave, forsake somebody is to see basically a weapon ravage somebody's house. So again, I pray that this helps you understand your potential situation and your spiritual walk and journey. I pray that this video grants you the strength in your spiritual walk and journey to continue to endure. I pray that this video helps you understand why you might be in the situation that you're in. And honestly, folks, I pray that this video helps you get strengthened more in YAHUAH YAHUSHA to understand your personal situation, and that you go to YAHUAH in prayer about your personal situation, and that this video also helps you with the Yahudyth lessons. Like I say, prayerfully, we will be able to do more of that on this channel in the time to come and in the months and days and years to come. This is Truth Unveiled here saying, as always, Shalom.